woke me this morning, stood me on my square, faced the east and then recite my prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. By night and day and through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Amen. We should say amen. Amen. Everybody say amen. Amen. In 1492, you came upon these shores, 700 years, educated by the Moors. 17th century, genocide and the gun. Middle Passage blessed to market the African. In the so-called land of God, my kind were treated hard. From back then until now, I see, and you agree, we have been a misrepresented people. From back then until now, just see my family tree. We have been a misrepresented people. We have been a misrepresented people. Islam.
Islam.
Praise the Lord.
Happy Wellness Wednesday.
Happy Wellness Wednesday.
First, I want to rise and give praise to Allah. I want to give praise to He who is immeasurable in His immensity and incomprehensible in His profundity. I want to give praise to whom we refer to at times as being the great God, Allah, because in Greece, He's Zeus.
That's right.
In Egypt, Thoth. The Brahms call him Parabrahm. And Jehovah is his Hebrew name.
That's right.
But we know that everywhere He is the causeless cause and the rootless roots from which all things is grown. So we give praise to Allah.
That's right.
Give high honors to His illustrious prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, etc. I give honors to the forerunner, Brother Marcus Garvey. I want to give honors to all past leadership. I want to give honors to all past Supreme Grand Advisors and moderators. Colonel C. Kirkman Bey, Brother F. Nelson Bey, Brother J. Blakely Bey. I give honors to the former Grand Sheik and moderator, Brother R. Jones, R. Love Ill, and to the present Grand Sheik and moderator, who is the Grand Sheik and moderator, Brother R. Jones Bey, and his assistant, Brother Hazim Hopkins Bey. I give honors to the Grand National Chairman, Brother P. Chase Hill and his assistant. I give honor to the Grand National Mufti, Brother J. Frazier Bey and his special staff. I give honors to all Grand Governors and their assistants, all Grand Sheiks and their assistants. I want to give honor to our brother man, our Grand Sheik here at Branch Temple number 11, Brother S. Anna L. Bey and his assistant, Brother C. Martin Stansel Ill and their special staff. I give honor to our two flags, the American flag and the Moorish flag. I give honor to our brother Anderson Bey. S. Anderson Bey, welcome, brother man. Well, I give honor to Sakara Sacred Hill, and I give honor to Sister Elberry Bey, my wife, the Michael Jordan. I'm Scottie Pippen. I give honors to everything. I give honors to men, because when man honors man, he honors his father, God, Allah. But I'm going to take a read from the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali, by the guiding of his father, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his father, God, Allah. Take a read from page chapter 12, found on page, I'm sorry. What page is chapter 12? Chapter 12 found on page 19. I'm going to read a few instructions. Chapter 12, Jesus teaches the common people at a spring, tells them how to obtain eternal happiness. In silent meditation, Jesus sat beside a flowing spring. It was a holy day, and many people of the servant caste were near the place. And Jesus saw the hard-drawn lines of toil on every brow and every hand. There was no look of joy in any face. Not one of all the group could think of anything but toil. Islam.
Praise Allah. Islam, Islam, Islam. Praise and honors to everything that my husband, Brother T. Berry Bay, has given honors and praise to. Praise Allah for our co-host, Brother S. Anderson Bay. Please introduce yourself.
Islam. Thank you for having me. My name is Brother S. Anderson Bay. I'm a member of Branch Temple number 11. I want to give honors to the great God Allah. I want to give praise to the great God Allah. Honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I'm going to give honors to everything that Brother T. Berry Bay gave honors to.
That's right.
I'm excited.
Islam. Praise Allah.
That's for that. I'm excited that I get to be amongst the Moors, and nothing better for me than being amongst the Moors and be able to give praise and adoration to the one who is all powerful, the one who's all loving and who's all merciful. He is the reason why we're here today, and to be able to sit here and talk about, to shout from northeast, west, and south about the great God Allah and the power that He's given all of us and the ability to serve and uplift our people.
That's
right.
One
of the most radical things that could happen in this lifetime for me, and I hope that tonight that I do justice by conveying my experience in the Moorish Science Temple of America and how the Moorish Science Temple of America has actually allowed me to be a better servant to our people.
Praise
to
Allah.
Be a better clinician.
So what is your profession?
So I'm a clinical social worker. I've been a clinical social worker probably about 13 years. And I'll say this. I've worked in a variety of different modalities. I've worked in substance abuse, geriatric psych. I've worked with large organizations doing systems change in and outside of prisons. I worked within the criminal legal system of diverting our young brothers who are facing mandatory minimums. And my current station is that, I started a company probably about 6 or 7 months ago called Asiatics Getting Well. And that was divinely inspired by me witnessing a brother in the neighborhood walking around who was, exhibiting psychotic symptoms. And the thought came, and I know the thought came on high, that there's no reason why our people should not have access to quality psychotherapy, especially if I mean, not only have quality, but affordable. And I live in the community. It just didn't, I really had that revelation. And so I started Asiatics Getting Well, and came up with the name because I want our people to know that we can get well, regardless of whatever the circumstances are, that we can get well. And that I also believe that making it accessible and affordable for our people, for the opportunity that they can exercise their five senses and also unfold into becoming healthy citizens, healthy neighbors, members of a community. Because when you have healthy people, you create healthy communities, and they make healthy choices to benefit all of mankind.
That's right.
So I wanted to just kick it off with our key points, because you have a gift for observation, as Jesus had in that silent meditation in this chapter that Brother Berry Bay has just read, for eternal happiness. It says, Jesus teach the common people at a spring, tell them how to obtain eternal happiness. And your observation reminded me of this chapter when it says, and Jesus saw the hard-drawn lines of toil on every brow and in every hand. There was no look of joy in any face. Not one of all the group could think of anything but toil. But before that, it says that it was a holy day. So Jesus was sitting in silent meditation on a holy day, and he was observing his people.
Mm-hmm.
What do you, this is the gift that we see that you have. And this is a part of, healing the nation.
Mm-hmm.
Sure,
Can I say something before he tap into the question? I want to let the listening audience know that when you hear us reading from the Quran and you hear the stories about Jesus, these are ancient stories. They're lessons.
They're a lesson.
You can read it as a novel. You understand? But there's layers to it. These are lessons to tap into the spirit of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
To tap into our flowing springs.
That's right.
So don't just, listen to the story and hear the name Jesus and hear these different, these activities that are taking place, and don't look at it frivolously. Because there's a hidden treasure in the story. And the more you read the story and the more you internalize the story, because it's all about internalization. Internalize the story, then it comes alive to you and you can see the hidden treasures in it, because it's really talking about us.
Islam.
Don't look at this as something from olden times that doesn't have anything to do with you. It has everything to do with your human experience. I just wanted to share that.
Islam. Thank you for that, brother. Thank you so much for pointing that out, that this is adaptable, that this is an experience. Our literature, our sacred literature is experiential. And to think about, like, our lives through practice of meditation, reading our sacred literature and applying these lessons to myself, I'm able to look into the eyes of our people and see that, what, that brother need a hug. As I was trained, right? And then just to back up a little bit, I was trained in a bunch of different European psychology, and European psychology is contrary to a lot of the way the vibration our people move in. Our people need love. Our people need to be told that, not only told that they understand it. Sometimes you don't need to say something. Give somebody a hug and say, you know what?
That's right.
I get that. What you done, I wouldn't doubt that I've done that too. And actually, I have done what you've done. And folks respond better to that when they understand there's a shared experience. And so with Jesus sitting at this side on this holy day, which is a Friday, is a holy day for all Muslims around the world. Jesus was sitting and he was practicing, tapping in his consciousness, and which shows that Jesus was a man just like us. He struggled with things just like us, but he practiced. And the idea of being able to sit by a well and practice on a holy day, and to see his brothers and sisters consumed, I shouldn't say not working hard, but no hope and joy behind it. And seeing, and being able to see, look at our brothers and sisters, and when I'm working, to be able to see that our people are striving. People are striving. They're doing the very best with what they got. And sometimes our people are walking around, and everybody's telling them or calling them everything under the sun except a child of God. And nobody's telling them that, you know what? I see you. I see you striving. I'm proud of you. When I'm walking around the neighborhood, around where I live, I see the young brothers who are working. I say, yo, I'm so proud of you. And just to see a young brother, somebody smile and say, because you working, or you could be doing a whole lot of other things, but you decided to get up, get a job, and work. Even sometimes, even if sometimes they don't have examples of it, but to see our young brothers smile, or to see my sisters smile, or to hear somebody say, yo, I'm really proud of you, because I realized in my 51 years, I'm at a place, I'm transitioning to becoming an elder. And it's my responsibility to uplift our young people, our older people, and also the prophet's lessons teaches that he's teaching us the things that make us better citizens. And I have to practice that. I have to demonstrate that all day, every day, because it's important that our people need to see hope, because if they don't see hope, why are they going to try?
That's right.
Well, they don't see it if they don't see an example why try? So I feel like it's really important for us that we in the uplifting business to not be afraid to tell our people that I'm proud of you, not to tell
That's
our
right.
people I love you. Not
That's
even when
right.
it's somebody, or to say good morning, or say grand rising to somebody, and not expect them to say grand rising back, because I don't know what they're going to. But sometimes when you say you greet a brother or sister on the street early in the morning, and they have those look on their face, they really trying their best, they trying to put their best foot forward, and somebody says good morning or whatever, and they say, wow, somebody saw me today. So
Praise
that
him.
makes sense.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Makes perfect sense.
He touched on that living a social hopelessness, like unconscious or death, if you will, a social death. Can you touch on that a little bit more, because you spoke of it just now?
See, I can speak from my own from personal experience. I'll say it like this: y'all know me very well. I spent a lot of time with y'all and y'all family, and I'm coming out of a condition, right? A self-created condition, and in order to be able to assist, I had to really understand how low to go. And I always, y'all know my famous line. I went from a 6-figure paying job to going to food pantries, right? And
Talk about it. Come on.
and the idea of this thing about European psychology talks about pride, that you can't have too much pride. And I remember telling my brother, I'm like, yo, my pride is preventing me from going out there and trying to work and ride this bike. He said, no, that's good pride. You got the right kind of pride. He said, a man with pride will not allow himself to starve. A man with pride will not allow his children not to be fed. And I had to get humbled.
Islam, can I interject? It's a problem when your pride is empty. Empty pride is an abomination.
Come on.
Go ahead, bro.
Come on.
And that was what I was demonstrating, empty pride. And when Allah had to bring me to a place of humility to get on a bike, and I rode a bike for about 5 or 6 months delivering Uber Eats, and I found myself in all sorts of different public housing places, riding around my neighborhood. And at first I it was hard to get in. I struggled, and then I got into it, and I was proximate to our people, and I started to see the beauty of our people. And I realized that people are really striving hard. There wasn't a place I couldn't go. And I realized, and while I was doing that, from the work I used to do, I was running to former clients. And I ran into one, and he was like, yo, Brother Bay. And I'm like, what? He's like, what you doing? I said, I'm out here doing this. And he said, that's why I always listen to you, because you wouldn't tell me to do something you wouldn't do yourself. And what I've learned from that, one, I needed a growth period.
Right.
I didn't need to get free from whatever the debris I was carrying with me from past lives and in this life that I was doing with the work I was doing, that I had to get humble. And I would be riding this bike around, and and I'd be weeping and saying, thank you for showing me that I'm worthy of this. Thank you. And I'm saying thank you to Allah. And people would say, are you okay? And I'd be like, I'm doing well. I'm so blessed. And I'd just be riding. And, it was one of these things of like, I would go and deliver food to people, and I'd be like super excited and happy. And I'd be like, yo, how you doing? And then I leave. And then either sometime they would give me a tip, and then later on they would give me extra. And then I start looking at my satisfaction rate. It's like 99.5. And people always said they just like professional, courteous, super good attitude. And it was like I was I was so grateful to be in a place where I was like reconnecting with my roots and reconnecting with our people in a way that I had never, ever had before. And what Allah also did was all the lies that my lower self told me got smashed. It's like, I remember sitting on the stoop where my grandmother and them lived, and I sat there and bawled like a baby because I was remembering all the beautiful memories of like my aunts and about 30 cousins playing on this street. I remember teaching myself how to ride a bike and all this. I was like, whoo, Allah. And I remember getting up and saying, Allah, you ain't no joke. You are no joke. So, you know, the social depth, in order to be able to help our people come out of that social depth, I've had to experience what it's like to not have. I had to learn what it's like to stand online for a food pantry and people treating you as if you're a social pariah. I had to learn that. I had to experience that. And how that's translated now is that there's nothing someone can tell me in an individual or group session that I haven't experienced. I get it. And I can turn around and say, you know what? It's temporary. It's a condition. If you strive, you get up out of it. But you got to understand there's work to be done. It don't stop, you know? So,
you know, one of the things I always loved about Brother Anderson Bay when I first met him, and I always told you, your level of authenticity. You know, the instructions, the lessons teach that speak in sincerity and thou will hear with instructions. You always manage to find solution to your problems because you're sincere.
Right.
Unapologetically sincere. You have an authenticity about yourself. That's more is science. And I always say, and I'm always say this, it's only one way you can learn more is science or you can teach more is science. And that's only through application. You care how many books you read, who told you what handshake you learn. If you're not applying what is called instructions, you never can learn it or you never can teach it.
You never can teach it.
It's that simple. This is something that, you know, anybody can apply this, whether you're an intellectual or you're not an intellectual. You don't have to be a genius to practice more science. You just have to practice. You have to be what you're saying you are, and that's the beauty of more science. I know some people like to complicate it. They say you got to learn it from me, and you have to learn it like this, and you have to get this book that connect to that book. That ain't what the prophet said. Application anointed her with the oil of wisdom. You apply the holy and divine instruction, and you always want to get the solution.
Wow.
It's really that simple. Or, you know, the hardest part is commitment. It's committing yourself. Once you commit yourself to the great program, the rest is all downhill from there.
It's all downhill.
You know,
you mentioned also yesterday when we were speaking something about the heart rate and the blood flowing.
Oh,
the flowing spring.
The flowing spring. Yeah, the flowing spring for me. You know, that's another thing too. You have to, when you're dealing with this, because this is divine. You can't circumscribe it.
Right.
And when you're dealing with something that's divine, you have to internalize it, and you have to, you know, find your interpretation of it so for your growth and development, not nobody's else interpretation of it. You know, only you can grow and develop through your interpretation of it. And what I see with the flowing spring to me symbolizes consciousness. You know, when the waters are still, the drops become poisonous.
That's right.
So we know that life is a flowing spring.
That's right.
You know, the thing that's moving is the thing that's alive. Remember, this is a divine and natural movement.
I think you said the body in motion is
a body in motion is a body alive. You know, it's when stagnation creeps in. You know, that's when things become toxic.
Right. Right. Wow.
You remind me of something the old teacher used to tell me. The worst thing for a spiritual person to be doing is nothing.
Right.
You know, to be you said that, like, I love what you said last night, Brother Barry Bay. You was like, still water, like a still water is toxic. Right. You know, and it sent chills down my spine. Not out of fear, it was just like, I don't want to ever be still and sitting, or my spirit to be sitting still.
That's right. You know, you spoke about also, Brother Anderson Bay, you said something about you always looking for service. You were speaking about that. So I just want to give you honors for that. You know, you were saying you went from, you know, making this amount of money or this standard of work to go into food pantries and you're very humble
Mm-hmm.
with sharing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to share that. So
And also his the role he played, you know, here in Brooklyn,
right,
with us
let's get
and
into that. TCC committee.
TCC,
Yeah.
you know, Transformative Community Coalition.
Mhm.
You put that together with the local precinct. See, I'm be honest with the Moors. How I grew up, I didn't care for police. I wasn't a police guy, you know. So when you brought me in with the young guys to help mentor the young guys, and then you brought me in with the TCC, I learned that those officers, that's not the officers that I grew up with.
Mm-hmm. Islam.
You know, when I was coming up, the officers I grew up with were elder European men from different communities. But these officers were like they were asking for advice. They were like my children. You know, and I was like, hold on. I had to recalibrate. I said,
I remember that day.
It's a new era of time now.
I said, these are not the police that I grew up with. You know, and you know, to sit with the young age, most of them are Asiatics, young Asiatic brothers and sisters, and to converse with them, and to you know, for them to help us help the youth.
Right.
You know, and they sincerely, genuinely have empathy because they can relate. You know, they can relate. That was powerful, and that was revolutionary for me.
That's right.
You know, when it came to my perception of police, and I know that, you know, there's good and bad in everything. You know, so we can find good and bad in any organization.
That's right.
You know, but you have to look for the best in anything so that we can give the best within ourselves.
Islam. That experience, that transformative community coalition, you know, it transformed my perception about law enforcement as well, too. You know, as well. And being able to sit there and see that they had sincere desire to be more than just law enforcement. And it all started from an email of someone. And then that first meeting, they pretty much, I never heard officers talk like that or say, we need this, we need that, we need this, we need that, we need this, we need that. And I remember saying, wow, their humanity.
That's right.
Their humanity was so they put it all on the table, and we had a magnificent time working with them during the summer. We went to the garden, and you know, they got into distributing food during COVID and working with young people. I mean, their morale went up. You know, like the idea of serving our community, you know, and serving humanity,
right?
You know,
right.
Serving humanity.
I like to add to that, because even now, you bridge that gap, you made that connection, and that still lives. You know, like for my birthday, I was able to go to the 75th precinct. They had a wellness expo.
Yeah.
Where they had many different people come together, psychiatrists, healers. I mean, people, just humanity was together. And we were able to enjoy each other's company. Because you made that connection, I'm still able to have a personal relationship, like a one-on-one relationship with our community officers, bridging that gap. And even in the DA's office, we got a whole Zen room there. You know, and I'm really grateful, and I'm just so humble from the work that you do and how you organize that so swiftly during COVID. You know, it was all during COVID. We online, and you're like, this meeting coming up. We like, okay, another one. All right, we were there. We showed up, and showing up is important because that's a part of being well.
And you know, listen, the prophet said he made it plain that a fool can't err. Thank you, Sister Britt Bay, for that. That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Praise Allah. And so we're moving on to our next key point, which I want to ask a question. That correct question is, because the work that you do, I know we were speaking about observation, like the prophet was observing that his people needed some attention. They need some, they're sad. They don't understand that being happy, you should be happy when you toil.
Mhm.
That's when you should most be happy. That's what he said.
Mhm.
So what is your message to demonstrate the importance of healing thyself? Because you have to convince
Ooh.
your clients that they need this.
Ooh.
What is your demonstration?
So, so
Really?
as a clinical social worker, right? It's important. It's important that you yourself be engaged in treatment.
Mhm.
I've been working with an Asiatic psychologist for the past almost 4 years and love her to life. You know what I mean? I mean, that relationship is one of the most important relationships I have, because when I first walked into her office, and she always laughs about this. She probably, why I told her to tune in and watch. She didn't respect me as a man,
Mm.
and she said it. I don't necessarily. She once told me in a session, "You're not. I don't feel like you're a real man." And I
Wow.
was like, "What?" But she watched the transformation over time, and that relationship. She helped me heal in so many different areas I had struggled with. I had a lot of trauma in my life, and I was able to make peace with a lot of the trauma in my life. And within that modeling, that doing that work in that relationship, to the point of when I show up for session, it's Islam. She says Islam treat,
Mhm.
and that right there is, you know, truly important to have somebody. And I've also learned a lot of how to be a better clinician through that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I learned how to be a better clinician. And I always say to her, she's a healer. I say, sis, you a healer. You heal, you help. Allah use you to heal me. And through that, what I realized is like, I have to, sometimes I have to tell my clients, yo,
Mhm.
I'm so proud of you. And through all the hard work and intimacy, you grow to love people. And I say, yo, man, I love you, bro. And I like some of the clients, I was like, I really love you. That's like the work you're doing and how you transforming and you unfolding, and you start to, by modeling that, the work that I've done, you start to see somebody who would only give you a little bit, giving you everything now.
Mm-hmm.
And also being vulnerable with you. So it's important that if you if you in the helping profession, or even if you doing this as an avocation, and you
Mm-hmm.
volunteering, it's important for you to do things that produce good feelings for you, good, like healthy and well-being. I dance a lot too. Y'all seen my videos on
Right,
Yes.
Facebook.
right.
So I've been dancing since I was a child, and I make sure I listen to certain music. It's house music to bring a certain vibration and
Mhm.
joy in my life. So I dance, I take
Mhm.
walks. I love to walk around the neighborhood, and it seems to me like I connect with children and small children and babies, and it's like once I was walking around the neighborhood and I was feeling low. I was at my low was on me, and I took a walk, and but down the block, this baby saw me and started flapping their arms and kicking their legs and all this stuff, and it brought joy to my heart. And I was like, whatever the way I saw it, I said, "Oh, Allah's telling me I'm all right. I'm gonna be all right."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right.
And I say it don't have to be. It ain't rocket science. Do
Oh.
something that's healthy, that's gonna get the blood pumping. If that means you walking fast, if that means you riding a
Mhm.
bike, if that means you dancing, if you're doing double dutch, go
Mhm.
back to doing
Right.
some of the things you used to like to do when you were younger, and you'll find that you still love those things.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're a professional
Mhm.
and you working with people, you need to be in treatment too,
Right.
because we don't need anybody hurting anybody who's not healed, hurting somebody else. It's not fair. It's not right to do that. To think that while you helping somebody, it's gonna help you fix your stuff. And I'll say it clearly, no, it ain't. You're gonna mess
Uh-huh.
somebody up,
You
and
know,
you're gonna mess yourself
SJ,
up too.
see, that comes from your practice. You're
Right.
not afraid to try out what you know, or try out what you feel is working for you. You have to put, to really truly know if something works, you have to put it to the test. Like I
Yeah.
always tell them more is,
Mhm.
when I first came into the teachings of Noble Drew Ali, I was putting the prophet to the test.
Mhm.
And one of the people that I used to ask a lot of questions was, our Grand Sheik, Brother Asani Bey. And I would, every time I thought I found something against the prophet, because that's what, when you're coming out of that so-called woke demonstration, you think everything is a challenge. So I was challenging the prophet. Well, what about this? What about that? When I tell you Annie Obey whooped me with the prophet, co-ill, they whooped me with the prophet. I'm still healing. Beat me up with the prophet. This is truly the impregnable doctrine.
That's right.
You know, and I can stand on it because I study it and I internalize it and I live it. You know, it's definitely the impregnable doctrine. So when you you know, man, for man to know, he must himself be what he knows. And that's what you are, a demonstrator of that unapologetically. Honest to you for that. Your sincerity is just is amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's very encouraging. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to uplift fallen humanity. Right? And the only way that you can do that is share your own experience. If you're ready, nobody telling you to do that. But that is the part of the service. So
that's why I say in order to teach it, you have to, there's only one way to teach it and learn it is by you have to be it. You have to apply it. You have to apply it.
It's an experience. It's an experience that happens for you, not to you. And so when you are able to recognize that without judgment and blame, fears and doubts, you can demonstrate in sincerity your life. You turned it into a healing demonstration. It's a lesson for all to learn if you have courage.
Doubt is of thy own raising.
It's of thy own
raising. You know,
raising.
when doubt slip in, you already know.
You already know.
When you let it in.
You done lost, you know, and we're not losers.
No.
We're striving. We're not going to ever give up. You know, when you make an error, you make a speedy reparation.
Yep.
It's okay. You know, before when we made those errors, before you met the prophet, it's like, you're judging yourself, you're judging the people, you're thinking about what they think about you. But no, you make a speedy reparation and all is well. Keep moving. You know, Jesus kept moving. He didn't stop.
Ooh.
And so that consciousness,
he tarried not.
He tarried not.
He said he tarried not. Right. You know, when they said he was crazy, insane. They said he speaks as devils speak, but he tarried not. And when you look up the word tarry in layman's term, it just means he kept it moving.
He kept it moving.
He tarried not.
And then you are a person who understands or receiving because you are seeing. You know, you believe, which helps you see. In belief, you can see. And so those riches, gems abound, starts to unfold. Those treasures, you know, that no man can count. You start to receive that, but only because you are aware, not only of your own failings or things that you have experienced, you're aware of that of others.
The wise man feels his imperfections and is humble. As long as you keep feeling your own imperfections, that's what keeps us humble. You got to stay connected to your own imperfections.
Listen,
Islam.
That you bring, and you're leaving your footprints clearly cut. All this love that we're feeling with the, you know, our participants here today is beautiful. They're loving your heart.
Any dialogue or any conversation that's uplifting, that's healing.
It's healing.
Islam.
That's healing. Anything that's uplifting is healing because we all are fallen humanity.
We all are fallen.
Say it again. Say it again, Paul.
All are fallen humanity. So when we talk about uplifting fallen humanity, we're not talking about them over there. No, we're talking about us. We are all uplifting fallen humanity.
I want to also share that today, and I was in today's Wellness Wednesday, you know, and I was in the Zen room at the DA's office, and I shared a message came to me this morning while I was practicing, you know, and the message was to whatever's missing in the world, right? Whatever's missing in the planet as far as healing and love, prosperity, you have to call it into your aid. That's the flow of consciousness. You receive it as you ask. You got to know what to ask for. So that's that flowing spring consciousness. Mother Love said it best. Be conscious of being conscious of being conscious of being conscious. And she kept saying it. because that's the flowing spring consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you don't continue to be conscious, then it's that social death that you spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
The hopelessness comes on board.
Still waters.
Still waters.
Islam, like the practice of continuing to keep practicing and not getting attached to the idea of I'm gonna feel good every time I do this. You know, the practice. Sometimes, you know, I've been meditating probably about 17 years. You know, and it was probably a few years back. I just decided, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do this. And I went a year of not doing it. And by the end of that year of just not doing it, I never took it for granted again. I never took the opportunity. I never took the ability to get centered, to get quiet, to spend that time with the great God Allah and to receive insight. Because a lot of the time, you can, as it says, he who hears is still.
That's right.
Sit still. You know, and sometimes folks feel like I can't quiet my mind. When you practice, when you practice and practice and practice, it's like these divine instructions. You got to practice, you got to practice, you got to practice, you got to practice. And it ain't about perfect. It's about practicing so that it becomes every part, and you internalize it.
That's right. That's right.
Patience.
Yeah.
Patience. What I learned about patience is patience without directed purpose. You gotta be careful with patience too, because patience without directed purpose can become stagnation or even procrastination. So, you know, what are you being patient for? I'll give you an example. Like I'm a fan of basketball, boxing, right? A fighter is being patient. A fighter with purpose, a skillful fighter, his patience is directed purpose. He's waiting for him to throw the left hand so he can slip the left and he can do whatever it is he's trying to do. But just to be patient, you can easily slip into complacency.
Yes.
Stagnation. And that's when the waters become still. And we know those still waters, every drop is poisonous. You gotta keep the spring flowing. You gotta stay with a purpose.
Islam.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I like that.
That was powerful there, brother.
Yeah.
That was powerful. I felt that.
Thank you.
Like, that's the thing of this uplifting work is like we giving folks, helping them tap into their purpose.
That's right. That's
you know, to tap into that purpose so that they're able to experience what Jesus is experiencing by sitting by that flowing spring. You starting to tap into your purpose, and when you tap into your purpose, you start finding yourself. You find the things that you love to do, and that brings joy not only to your heart, but it brings joy to the heart of Allah. It brings joy to the community. Yes, brother.
When you tap into your purpose, you don't got to go look for anything. It'll come to you.
That's right.
When you tap into your purpose, you don't have to chase money. You don't have to chase titles. It'll chase you.
That's right.
Because you're living your purpose. And you know who's the driver of your purpose, Allah.
That's right.
So you always got to follow your purpose. Your purpose. And listen, when you're walking in your purpose, nobody can abstain to what Allah's ordained.
That's right.
Hey.
You can't abstain to what Allah ordained. As the late great brother Bob Marley said, you can't curse what Jah has already blessed.
Right.
Woo! Right. Come on now. Come on. Oh, come on now. Wow.
Woo!
This.
You know, we have something special for you all. Brother Anderson Bey is going to do a meditation session at the end of this demonstration today. You know, I've seen the brother do his guided meditation, and I was very impressed because it's sincere and it comes from the heart. When you open up that heart to others, it pours in the treasures of Allah. It's a gift. It feels good when you can give.
The windows
the windows to your heart. You know, Jesus let the poor toilets know
Flood of light.
your thoughts are wrong.
No.
Hmm?
You know, there's no heaven or no hell. You know, it's no around, below.
Allah
It's
never
only
made a
in.
heaven or hell.
Never. Just
You
open
know?
up the windows to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so I want to, you know, give you a chance to, we have that last 10 minutes of just flowing. So we're gonna give our final words before I make the announcements, and then the meditation will happen immediately after. So stay on for meditation. That's what we're gonna close out with. Guided meditation from Brother S. Anderson Bay. So Brother Barry Bay, you want to give our co-host the last words, or you want to go?
Oh, I just, you want
to go first?
Just thank you for your service, and thank you for, inviting me to help serve. Because when you and I first met, the first thing you did was you brought me down there to your program with the youth.
That's right.
Yes. Project Redirect. And I got to really, bond with the youth, this new generation who was getting in trouble with a lot of guns and gang culture. I got to meet a lot of those brothers and converse with a lot of them, and you brought me back into, you helped me get a better understanding of what the youth is going through, and the difference, their culture,
right,
and how their culture is affecting them, and the victimizations that they're going through.
Islam.
Because a lot of what they're suffering is, they're being victimized in a lot of ways too. You can't see it; you just see the implosion of it. We see the negative aspects of it, and it looks bad. Yeah. But when you really get to hear their story and you sit with them, as Jesus sat with the servant cast, that's when you truly get to know who people are and what they're going through. If you haven't sat with people and you really don't know what people are going through, it's easy to to point your finger from a distance. Because I could imagine that when we were young growing up, somebody pointed the finger at us as well.
That's right.
They didn't understand what we were going through. So you always got to have empathy. So thank you for that. Thank you for your service, and thank you for allowing me to assist in that service. That's what I'll say to my good brother Anderson Bay.
Brother, man, you were natural.
Yes,
you're such a natural.
Those
brothers.
We brother T-Berry.
The days you didn't show up. Yo, where T-Berry at? Why you not here? Is he coming back? You were such a natural, brother. It was a pleasure having you there. Yeah.
Praise Allah. I like to thank you, and I mean, Brother T-Berry Bay pretty much said it all. I just want to thank you just for being. You're a functioning being, if you will. And that's what the prophet asked of us. He said, if I can get you to thinking you can save yourself, but we need us to function. He said, we don't know if we can if we function. So praise Allah for your functioning.
That's right. And being constant, the constancy of thy virtue shall crown thee with honor.
That's right.
And you consistent. I seen you at a high, and I seen you at a low, and you never changed.
Praise Allah.
I wouldn't have known it if you didn't show it.
Right.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Yeah, I'll tell folks, these lessons work.
They do.
That's right.
These lessons work. I always, no matter what was going on, I always looked forward. I always would say, I always got a holy day meeting to go to, and I got Sunday school, no matter what's going on, and that being it.
That's the gospel plow. That's why I say, hold on to the gospel plow.
Hold on to the gospel
Don't let it
plow.
go.
Don't let it go.
That's that gospel plow.
Wow.
Good, peace on earth, goodwill to men.
That's right. We striving for purity in life, as Mother Love always say. Striving for purity in life. And so I just commend you for your work and your deeds. May Allah continue to be pleased with your work.
That's right.
So I'm going to just make these announcements right now because I'm excited about this guided meditation. Please tune in this Friday, our holy day, at 7:30 on our national page, and on Sunday at 2 p.m. for Sunday school. Also on Monday, we have Girl Talk, Real Talk, Moorish Talk at 7 p.m. And then Wednesday, Universal Love at 7 p.m. We thank you for all of your support, your participation, always sharing and loving and comments, hearts. We really appreciate it. Without you, we could not do this. So thank you for showing up and being present. So, Brother Anderson Bay, take it away.
All right. Islam wars. Islam.
Wow.
So wherever you are sitting, just sit back. If you're able to, just sit back, relax. Take your two hands, put your hold your hand like this, put your right hand in the palm on top inside your left hand. Try and keep your back as straight as you can, if possible. Close your eyes and take in a deep breath. Just through your nose. We're going to breathe in and out through our nose. So take a deep breath through your nostrils. Hold it for a second and then just exhale through your nose gently. Let's inhale once again. And then exhale gently. Let's repeat that again. Inhale. Hold it for 2 seconds. 1, 2, and exhale. Now, find a rhythm of breathing that works for you. If you like to go fast, if you like to go slow, whatever works for you, find that rhythm, right? And what we want to do is be gentle with ourselves. We don't want to flog ourselves. We don't want to punish ourselves. We want to show up to meditation with a really open heart and patience with ourselves. See, patience in action. So find a rhythm in breathing. And if your mind starts to drift, gently go back to your breath. Your mind is going to drift. Don't worry about it. So just continue to just breathe. And what we're going to do is we're going to find ways, as our literature says, is that we are heaven and hell are within. We are makers and owners of our own. So when you breathe in, imagine as you breathe in the cares of the world, right? And when it's you breathe in, your heart is going to filter out all that pain and suffering. And when you exhale through your nose, it's going to exhale warmth, white smoke, which symbolizes purity and healing. And we're going to take in all the cares of the world. Again, and when it goes down and it goes to your heart and your heart purifies it. And when you exhale, it's going to be white smoke. And this is the pain and suffering of our brothers and sisters of all humanity. You want to breathe in the cares of the world. And if you can't do it for your brothers and your sisters, do it for yourself. Show that love and compassion to yourself. Breathe in the cares of the world. Your heart will transform it into light, white smoke, and exhale. Breathe in, cares of the world, which is dark smoke, it's murky. And when you exhale, it's all white smoke and light. Inhale the murky cares of the world. Your heart purifies it. And exhale light and the white smoke. This is the healing. This is the Allah in man. Mm-hmm. Inhale again and exhale. Do that for about 3 or 4 more times. And on the 4th time, just go back to normal breathing. and visualize where there's no pain, there's no suffering, there's just light, energy, there's love, there's peace. Peace for yourself, peace for all humanity. And when you finish on your last, just slowly open your eyes. Be gentle with yourself.
Praise
So
Allah.
that was the practice of tongue meditation, compassion meditation. Easy to be done. You can replicate that and do that anytime, wherever you are.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All these beautiful comments we have. I'm just going to go through them so that you can see the love that was given. We like to thank you, Brother S. Anderson Bay, for your demonstration and your love and sincerity. May Allah continue to bless you to do this great work. It's so good to have you on the team.
Yes.
To service with.
Yes.
You know, when you got a good team player, we can go far doing this work. You know,
true asset.
A true asset.
Gratitude. Gratitude.
Thank you. National movement. Allah is really leading on, and victory is sure.
Praise Allah.
We surely like to thank, again, all those who participated today. We love you. We look forward to you coming back again for Sakara in 2 weeks. Remember to keep the incomprehensible out in front. Remember the flowing springs, to be conscious, have healthy dialogue. Healthy conversations will heal the situation immediately.
Islam.
Take charge of your own life.
Islam.
You are a creator and you make your own.
Islam.
Remember, Sakara sacred healing means?
Sakara means thoughts become things.
Thoughts become
so Sakara is a Sanskrit word that means thoughts become things.
Praise
and
Allah.
Wisdom is the consciousness that man is ought, that Allah and man are one.
And so we have said enough. We'll meet you again at the rise of the sun in 2 weeks.
Peace on earth, goodwill to men. Peace, Morty.